Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we're talking to you from Nelson, BC today, and it's 7:50 at nighttime, about the third weekend of October, and the weather's been pretty darn good. We've got a little bit of sunshine and a little bit of wind. We've had some rain, and you can tell that winter's upon us because you can see the snow coming down the tall mountains. So most people have their winter tires on. If not, they've probably got them booked and ready, and it's important that we be ready for winter. Slow down, pay attention to the condition of the roads because the first snow on the road is the slippery one because the road surface is clean and you get that fresh snow on top that's pretty icy, pretty slippery for us to control the car. So it's important that we keep our speeds down. I'm going to talk a little bit about aging tonight, not because I've got all the answers, but it's kind of an interesting time. I'm going to be 88 very soon, and I don't notice that much difference between 10 years, even 15 years. Got a few more kinks. See the doctor a few more times and double check on blood pressures and stuff like that. And I've had a CAT scan done recently and some other procedures that you can look inside the body from the outside, which is a good thing and gives the doctor the opportunity to have a look and see if something is forming on the inside that we can't see. I guess one of the first indicators we have though is, do we have the strength? And it's funny about strength, though. I talk to a lot of people, and as we age, the tendency is sometimes to sit around and watch TV and not do as much walking. And if we do that, what happens? Our muscles get slowed down. They lose their strength, and the steady exercise keeps your muscles built up and keeps the muscle tone good, so it allows you to get balance and walk properly. But if you lose your muscle tone, the tendency is you can fall easily, and fall for an aging senior is bad because trip and fall accidents are the things that break our arms, breaks our legs, break our hips, and when you get a major a bone injury or a joint injury like that, it puts you out of commission for a while. So it behooves us to keep active, walk as much as we can. And sometimes people cannot walk because they've got some joint problems, or maybe they were born with disabilities, or something's happened to them and they're disabled. But I try to encourage people to walk as much as you can because I feel great. I walk lots, and I feel good at the end of the day after I come back to the house and sit down and relax. I feel good. I feel a little bit tired, but my muscles are being used, and as a result of that, you tire out a little bit. So we have to, I get into the habit of having a 10-minute snooze in the afternoon after dinner sometimes, and brings the strength back. So walking is a great thing, and we see a lot of people down at the park with small dogs walking around, and the dog is running on a string, and the owner is following him, and sometimes the owner is trying to walk briskly to keep up with the dog. So it's a kind of a twofold win there, because the dog gets exercise, and the dogs love to run, and then the senior is getting exercise too, and in some cases the dog is building the senior up. So the senior is keeping the dog in good shape by walking the dog, and the dog is keeping good shape of the senior by walking the senior. So it's a win-win for both the dog and the senior. And those are pretty simple things that sometimes we don't think about that when we're young. When we're young, we're working, we're climbing and lifting and lifting stuff into place and climbing in and out of vehicles and loading stuff into cars and out again. And we're automatically kept in good shape by work activity. But the one thing that happens to us when we retire, if we don't push ourselves, it's too easy to sit around, and eventually our body loses its natural strength because the muscles are weird, and if you exercise them and keep them in good shape, they keep you strong and they allow you to stand up and hold your balance. But if you take the easy way out and sit around too much, we get weakened by that, and it eventually comes back to get us. And sometimes it's a hard thing to sell because if you've been sitting around not doing much for a while, then you go out and exercise briskly and push yourself, Next day, you got sore muscles, your arms are sore, and your legs are sore. So people sometimes take that as, oh, I shouldn't be doing that because it hurts me. But the no pain, no gain applies there. So if we go and exercise and keep our muscles up to date and keep them in good shape, we don't feel the pain. It's only when we don't use the muscles and then we push them afterwards that we feel the pain. Because the pain is the muscle being stretched beyond what we normal limits are, and they hurt a little bit. So we have to keep the exercise going to keep our muscles exercised, and that keeps the pain away as well. But it's a hard sell, as people get older. It's so easy to watch TV, and if we got something wrong, if we got a walking problem, we can't walk properly because of bone or hip joints or something like that, joints or arthritis. It tends to slow us down a little bit because it hurts us to walk. Now, quite a few people that I know have had their joints changed, their knee joints and hip joints, and they're out there just giving her and having a great time. So I think we should, if anybody has fear of surgery, I think we should say, well, look, the doctors are doing a good job of that. And yes, there's a little bit of pain, but I've heard a lot of guys talk to after they've had surgery, and the pain is lesser after the surgery. You've got a bit of a pain from the healing that's going on in the surgical joint, but there's less pain because you don't have the grinding effect of the ball in the hip rubbing on bone. So it's a plus for us to keep ourselves built up, and if we do need surgery, if you're 95 or 100 years old, probably you don't want to do major surgery. But it depends on the general attitude of the person. If the person is trying to stay in good shape as long as they can, it's feasible that they get surgery done at a later time of life. The thing is, when you compare yourself at the way operating room, and the surgeons are going to be looking at a list of guys that are waiting to have joint surgery. So if you got some guys that are in their 50s and 60s, and some guys that are in the 95s or 90 to 95 years old, comparing them and you're saying, well, geez, I think maybe we better do the younger guys first, because they have a chance of getting a lot more out of life than the older person. Not saying that that they're any more important, but it's a common sense thing. If the person is 98 years old, it's a big job to doing the hip surgery, and if you do a younger person, they heal up and they're going to last a long time. So it's a tough decision, I imagine, that the doctors and the surgeons have to make. And in my case, so far, my family, my dad and my uncles, and that they didn't have the hip problems that we're having now, but they died younger. Like in some of my uncles are dying in the mid-50s, age 51, 52, 53, 54. Now people are living longer, so you find people in their 70s, 75 era, and they wind up with hip joints worn out. And sometimes, some people are born with bone densities are probably not as strong as they could be. It might be a birth defect. But once they replace the hip, and we've had one lady in town that had both her knees changed, and she's been dancing, and several people had hip joints changed. One guy's had his hip changed 5 times, and the doctor told him the last time, you better slow down a little bit because I've got all these holes drilled in your hip bone with screws and bolts, and there's no place else to drill. So you might have to just slow down on your activity a little bit so that you don't have a broken hip again. It's kind of scary, but it's part of life, part of aging. The one thing I like about being a senior is you get a chance to meet people who are same age group that we worked with or worked alongside, and we find out what their ages are. I've met a person today, he's like in his early 70s, and I'm almost 15 years older than him, and so we get a chance to compare. How are you doing? What's your age? And we get to know what they did in their life or job, and to find out how we compare. You can't do a direct comparison, but it gives you an idea if the person is 75 years old and they're still doing good and they're walking and talking and driving their cars, and we're doing about the same thing. We kind of fall into the same category as a retired active senior. And I think it's great if we can keep ourselves that way. And I try to, when I get up in the morning, I take a look in the mirror, and if I feel good, which I normally do, I usually say a couple of words of blessing. Say, thank you, Heavenly Father, for a beautiful night's sleep, and thank you for the day. We're going to go out and enjoy the day today, have a bite to eat, and go down and meet some friends and talk about old days and tell some funny jokes and hear some new stories. And it's nice to meet with people and compare things and to get to know if we're about in the ballpark where the age we're at with similar people. And it's great. You have somebody to talk to. And unfortunately, the apartment we're in here, we have a bit of chat with people in the hallways, but we don't have a social gathering room as such where we could see 40 or 50 people. That's why the seniors' homes are kind of a great spot because you have a lot of people there and you can have dinner together or supper and you can sit around and then talk afterwards. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of the people who are in there have sometimes got to the point where they've got Alzheimer's and getting beyond the point of easy communication. So if you have a younger person, like I say, a person that's 70 or 75 and their minds are still sharp, they haven't been affected by Alzheimer's, and you put them in with other people, it's hard for them because if their communicating skills are really good, and then they find somebody who's got Alzheimer's, it makes the conversation tough because the one person is ready to go and talking, and the other person is just kind of riding it out. But it's all part of aging, and we have to learn, and we have to appreciate where we are in life. Because by looking around and meeting different people, we find out when we take a look at where we are in life and we compare with other people. In many cases, we are way better off, medically, physically, and sometimes if somebody's had Alzheimer's, dementia, and stuff like that, it follows up their life. They can't talk very good anymore. They don't remember things as well, and they wind up being sitting around and less active. So if we're active, we have to give thanks for every moment that we have, that we're still able to walk and talk and join with people and reminisce about the good times, talk about the good times, and visualize on what tomorrow is going to be like, and trying to find out what people are doing. Are they finding a good place to go and live when we age? Because a lot of times when you're living in houses, we built these houses in the early days, wind up as a senior with your washer and dryer down in the basement, and then for you to go down there, get your wife to go down there to go and wash clothes, you got to walk down the steep stairs and walk back up again, and it's a great opportunity for a slip and fall accident. So it really behoves us to try and rearrange our house if we can so the washer and dryer is on the main floor, so there's less chance of us falling. And some of the older homes had the bathrooms upstairs too, and some of the rental apartments are like that where bathrooms are upstairs, and it's a poor design. Sometimes they can be changed, but it's expensive. And also, you can buy these stair climbers that will actually, you can sit on a chair and ride up the stairs. And as long as the power is on, you can ride up and down rather than climbing and walking on the stairs. The ideal situation if you move into a senior's apartment where you have stairs and you have an elevator. So should the elevator break down, you can still operate on the stairs. And we're lucky here; we have a new elevator in the apartment we're in, and so you're able to use the stairs and use the elevator. Using the stairs keeps you healthy, and the elevator helps you if you're getting to the point where you've got some muscles or joints are giving you problems. You can ride the elevator. So I hope you're having a great time and aging gracefully. Aging is an interesting time of life, and we never even think about that when we're kids. We're running around and playing ball and swimming and jumping and all kinds of stuff, fishing and climbing and hunting, and it's beautiful. But as we age, we have to moderate our pleasure, our activity to fit in with where we are in life as far as our condition, body condition, to balance. So I'm going to be 88 very soon, and I'm very happy for where I'm at in life. My joints are working good, muscles are working fine, slowing down a little bit, but I'm still pretty active, and I enjoy talking to people and learning how they're doing in aging. So have yourself a great evening, and best of luck to you. Have a great evening, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.